11:30 or 12 o'clock base. And Crazy-Hydra thinking of doing the same, going to expand at this 4 o'clock position. There is a drone. There's a zergling there. Jaedong gets the scout on this. Crazy-Hydra going to try to micro his drone around. Mutalisk do move in, are going to pick that zergling off. But Jaedong is going to have the scouting information. Well, I don't think Crazy-Hydra has any idea that Jaedong has the third base of his own. Jaedong is going to know that he's going to be fairly safe in his third, because Crazy-Hydra is actually expanding himself. That means there not going to be any heavy aggressive action. Most likely Crazy-Hydra is actually going to play more defensively just to make sure he can get that third up, get that third gas going. And looking at Jaedong's base, he has actually a fair bit of mining going on in his natural expansion. Crazy-Hydra actually has been using a lot more on troops, so Jaedong actually has allowed himself to create a few more drones than Crazy-Hydra. Crazy-Hydra, meanwhile, has spotted 11:30. But Jaedong saturating his natural expansion fairly well, has 5 or 6 drones mining minerals alongside gas. So Jaedong, economically speaking, is going to, the longer this continues, he's going to be a little bit more economically ahead, especially if he managed to do some sort of damage. He has been the only one that's really done any sort of economic damage, even though it has been kind of fleeting. But he's allowed himself to produce more drones. He doesn't have as many Scourge in the air either, so gas production to go mostly Mutalisk. And Crazy-Hydra actually going to go for the offensive. It looks like he's going to move towards 12 o'clock. Starts off moving in with a small zergling number. They're not going to manage to penetrate at all. Jaedong has this covered, though, moving in with Zone Mutalisk. A lot of them are going to get hit by Scourge, though, because not really any micro going on. Even more Scourge coming from both players, picking off Mutalisk on all sides. And Crazy-Hydra, I think, does come ahead a little bit, actually move some of his Mutalisk back and try to reinforce his forces there, move some of his Mutalisk back at the wrong time, and actually uses the perfect opportunity to move his Zerglings right inside of Jaedong's base. Going to move his Mutalisk towards 12 o'clock. His Zerg is going to start by picking off several drones. 2 drones going to die inside the main. 3 drones going to die inside the main. Now he's going to be forced to fight the other forces of Jaedong's, but those 3 drones mining minerals still definitely something he wanted to do. Now going to force Jaedong to micro around just with those Zerglings, and did do some damage to 12 o'clock. Not really too much. Was forced to retreat, I believe, maybe even picked off. Meanwhile, this just gives him time to get his own third up. Not quite sure how much damage was done at 11:30, 12 o'clock. Possibly a drone, single drone dead. But meanwhile, Crazy-Hydra has lost his entire ground army. He has nothing but his Mutalisk in the air. So now he's going to force to pump out with a few more Zerglings, or fly on 2 different sides with those Mutalisk. Jaedong, meanwhile, has his Carapace upgrade. Crazy-Hydra has not, so that's already a huge bonus to him. Definitely show of why he came out decently well in that one attack, despite the huge number of Scourge that Crazy-Hydra had. Getting hit there by another Scourge. Going to try to attack the Zerg, not microing against the Scourge very well. Jaedong has a large number of Mutalisk. Some of them get picked off. Reinforcements coming just in time. Mutalisk engaging Mutalisk. Crazy-Hydra, I think, does have a slightly larger forward. Scourge coming inside. We're going to see whether they actually manage to push his Mutalisk back. More reinforcements coming in for Crazy-Hydra. And Scourge alongside, pushing Jaedong back. Scourge on all sides trying to engage the Mutalisk. Getting some of those Mutalisk picked off. Distracting Scourge, hitting Overlords there just to hit something so they don't have to sacrifice their lives and dying to Mutamicro. Crazy-Hydra at this point, he's done a few aggressive actions, but he's still playing defensively, just trying to get his economy up, and he did do some fairly decent economic damage to Jaedong, so now Jaedong has to be forced to play aggressively. He can't allow Crazy-Hydra to just sit pretty inside on those 3 bases. He needs to do some bit of damage. Crazy-Hydra again going to move inside of Jaedong's natural expansion, going to pick several drones off, going to try to get back, use his Scourge to cover his escape, is going to get a Mutalisk picked off in the process. Oh, I think he'll take it. Meanwhile, critical, the third. Oh, man, Crazy-Hydra getting Zerg inside. They're getting some Zerg inside of Jaedong's third, but there are, I believe, 5 or 6 Zerg inside of his own third base, and that's going to get picked off, and if that gets picked off, that'll be the victory that he's going to need. I'm not even sure if Crazy-Hydra knows this is up. No defensive purpose on the way, and he loses the hatchery. There are some eggs popping. I assume this Mutas, they were set there for defensive purposes, but losing that third base could be exactly what Jaedong needed for victory. He looked a little bit troubled for a while there, but right now he could come back in this base. Crazy-Hydra does a Mutalisk flying, but he lost his third gas-producing base. Well, despite some of the drones that Jaedong has lost, still has all his three bases up, and the longer these keeps going, the more economic advantage Jaedong's going to have. Has Scourge at all positions covering by Scourge. Scourge is flying around, getting some scatter information, as well as just picking off some random Mutalisk that might pop from eggs. And Jaedong, meanwhile, rebuilding a huge Mutalisk forces. Crazy-Hydra going to go for an aggressive move at that 12 o'clock. Not a lot of drones saturated there, but he has to do something. But with a lack of Zergins on the ground, I'm not quite sure if he's going to be able to pick up a hatchery. He's going to pick off a lot of drones, completely unsaturate this 12. But picking it off would be exactly what he would want, though. Even reinforcements of Mutalisk coming in. Finding some Zergins on the ground alongside, but they're not really going to be able to penetrate or do any sort of damage. Might be just a distractive move. Jaedong has a crap load of Scourge. They're going to force Crazy-Hydra back, I believe. He also has a lot of Mutalisk. Oh, man, reinforcements from Scourge coming in for Crazy-Hydra as well. He's going to be forced to micro against Jaedong. Don't Mutalisk Scourge on all sides, and Crazy-Hydra going to move back a little bit. He still has a large number of Mutalisk, but I believe Jaedong just had a couple more Scourge than him. And even more ready for him. Jaedong, meanwhile, has not resaturated that 12. Sent some Zergins to try to pick off this extractor. Jaedong is going to be able to cover this, though. He really needs to use those larvae to get some drones at that. Get that third gas going at the very least. Try to defend it. Meanwhile, Crazy-Hydra, I think, is back at the 4 o'clock. Going to try to reestablish that base. Both players got to be just using every little bit of economy that they can. I think every time they get up to 100 to 200 minerals and gas, they always use it for Mutalisk or Scourge. Or possibly, you can barely save up for building in a ZVZ the way it is right now. Jaedong going to try to meet Crazy-Hydra near his own base here, moving with some Scourge, and Mutalisk going to pick off 2 Overlords. Might have managed that. Yeah, going to pick off 1 Overlord. Meanwhile, Crazy-Hydra moving with Scourge and Mutalisk of his own. Jaedong just, oh man, being supply blocked at this point is horrible for Crazy-Hydra. 200 extra minerals. They're going to be forced to create those 2 Overlords that he really can't afford to make right now. He's going to try to get even... Oh, Jaedong picking off even another Overlord. So, despite the fact that Crazy-Hydra did manage to fight back with a little bit of economic damage, he really hasn't gone around. Crazy-Hydra hasn't really gone around to pick off Overlord, so he's not really supply blocked Jaedong. Jaedong's just going to be able to continue producing Overlords. He's actually going to go for natural expansion here. Moving with, a gigantic fleet of Scourge and picking off all those Mutalisks. Should have enough mass numbers to pick off all those Mutalisks. Crazy-Hydra at this point. Crazy-Hydra going to be forced to micromanage, try to keep all of his Mutalisks alive, but he's in a bad position. Jaedong with that Carapace upgrade being critical. Oh, no upgrades whatsoever for Crazy-Hydra. That one single Carapace upgrade coming in so well for Jaedong at this point in time. Crazy-Hydra still trying to go around, pick off drones, force drones to go from that 12 o'clock, at least stop mining there, at least temporarily. But Jaedong has done beautiful now. Moving in with more Scourge, going to pick up some more Mutalisk. Crazy-Hydra not microing well enough. Oh, that's exactly what Jaedong just wants to do. Wants to just make sure he can keep mining for a little while and just pick down those numbers. Pick off Mutalisk. Going to go in, continue picking off drones. Natural expansion, not even mining much at this point for Crazy-Hydra. Never mind the third. He is going to be able to hold this off, I believe, with reinforcements. But Jaedong moving in with more Mutalisk. Going to try to keep up this aggressive action. Both players, we're not going to be seeing any heavy attacks just to the fact that these players, despite Jaedong, have a slight advantage. They are still fairly even. Crazy-Hydra is still going to have an opportunity to get back into this game, but he's going to have to do some significant economic damage. Jaedong going to go to that third, going to pick off both gas mining drones, I believe, there, and just going to micro against from those Scourge away now. Jaedong's micromanagement skills and timing is definitely coming in handy here. When Jaedong is allowed to get going, he can play pretty well, although I got to say that there were times when I felt that getting even a Zergling inside of his main and a ZVZ would be a task for players, extremely high-level guys, and even that would be pretty difficult. Another engagement coming in here. Crazy-Hydra not really microing very well against all of those Scourge. Despite managing to pick some Scourge off here and there, he still regularly gets hit with a lot of Scourge, and really the only time I'm seeing Jaedong getting hit with Scourge is when he allows it to happen. He just kind of flies into a huge, oh, there are a lot of Scourge coming at me, never mind. Going to fly with his Mutalisk now inside the third, seeing that there's no mining going on there, so he's going to fly back. Fairly's getting him scouting information. I apologize for the fact that there always seems to be inhaling with my nose some snot that's probably sitting there because of my freaking cold. I apologize about that, but it's necessary also. I would be... Well, my microphone would be fairly more disgusting to commentate into. Oh, Crazy-Hydra tried to go for an attack at the 12 o'clock. He's going to manage to sneak some Zerg inside the main, but that's going to give him scouting information, nothing else. Not really going to be able to pick off too much. The 12 o'clock harassment also pretty quickly stopped. At the very least, Crazy-Hydra knows that Jaedong's not going to go crazy and go big air or something. Zergling there out in the open, not actually going to get picked off. Jaedong going to try to go around and pick up Zerg's actually going to start... No, not going to start petering this hatcheries. Force the drones back, so that's a few seconds of mining that's not happening. And meanwhile, going to run back with those Zerglings. Jaedong, meanwhile, again, getting a large... Both players with huge fleets of Scourge alongside those Mutalisk. So I think this whole thing is going to accumulate in just one big air battle. Fairly close to Hydra's base. Look at them Scourge flying in Scourge formation. And Mutalisk going to come in right inside. Just as reinforcements fly in, all those Scourge gain a crap load of those Mutalisk can pick a lot of him off. And Jaedong, meanwhile, going to fly back. Micro against the Scourge of Crazy-Hydra. Did lose a couple of Mutalisk there, I believe, but still did a pretty good job. Also a distractionary tactic as those Zerglings go right inside of the third of Crazy-Hydra. He's going to try to do the same with his own Zerglings, but There are Zergers to defend from Jaedong. I gotta say, Jaedong has all together played beautifully. Is going to be able to, most likely, to pick off this base. Meanwhile, flying in with his own mules, just at this point, he controls the map. He controls what Crazy-Hydra is forced to do. Crazy-Hydra just does not have enough forces overall to react to Jaedong. Jaedong going to micro against this Scourge. Getting a Mutalisk picked off there again, but overall doing enough damage. Going to pick off this third yet again. Wasn't even really saturated. And finally, GG coming in for Crazy-Hydra at an impossible economic position. He is forced to GG to Jaedong and concede defeat. So Jaedong, the Tyrant, is going to get into the winner's match. So let's hope that this entire tournament does not become the massive upset fest that MSL seem to be these days. So GG guys, wrenching out. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed.